Let's go Dolphins! What the Miami Dolphins are secretly planning could shock the entire fan base, and if this plan actually works, it could either propel the team into a new era of dominance or make fans question everything. But the real question is, are you ready to believe in this team again? Before revealing what's happening behind the scenes, click the like button if you still have faith in the Dolphins. And I want to see the true believers show up. Comment right now, I trust this team. Now let's get straight into it. With the additional first-round pick acquired, Miami now holds selections at 11 and 30 in the 2026 NFL Draft, and this completely changes the strategy. According to the latest internal evaluations, the team's biggest need remains at edge rusher. Yes, even after all the moves, that position still sits at the top in terms of value and roster gaps. Right behind that comes wide receiver, unsurprisingly after moving on from Waddle, followed by safety, cornerback, offensive guard, and tight end rounding out the priority list. But here's where things get complicated. At pick 11, the Dolphins may not have access to a top-tier edge rusher. Prospects like Ruben Bain, Arl Reese, and David Bailey are all expected to be gone within the top 10. That leaves Miami in a tough spot. Do they reach for need, or pivot to best player available? And that's where names like Mansour Delane and Graham Mad McCoy come into play at cornerback. Both are elite prospects, but there are real concerns. McCoy is coming off a torn ACL that wiped out his previous season, while Delane may not fit the physical prototype the Dolphins are targeting defensively. Add in the fact that Miami already brought in multiple corners during free agency, and suddenly this position doesn't feel like a lock at 11 anymore. So what's the pivot? The offensive line. Francis Maui Noah is widely viewed as the top offensive lineman in this class, but there's a strong belief he won't even make it to pick 11. If he does, it could be a dream scenario. Then you have Vega Iona, a plug-and-play interior lineman with Pro Bowl potential, someone who could immediately solidify the guard position. And don't overlook Spencer Phantom, a versatile lineman who may transition inside at the next level. These are the kind of players that could anchor the trenches for years. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, wide receiver. Yes, it's a glaring need, but historically, the system that John Eric Sullivan comes from does not prioritize wide receivers early in the draft. That's a major detail. Even though players like Carnell Tate, My Lemon, and Jordan Tyson are projected to be available around pick 11, the expectation is that Miami may wait until day 2 to address this position. Tyson, in particular, stands out with his route running and ability to stretch the field, but there are durability concerns that could impact his draft stock. So if not wide receiver at 11, then when? That's where pick 30 becomes extremely interesting. This is the range where the Dolphins can really get creative. There's a deeper pool of talent, especially at edge rusher. Names like Akeem Metter, Kendrick Falk, T.J. Parker, and Zion Young are all in play. Some come with high upside but also risk. Falk, for example, has elite physical tools but inconsistent production. Still, at pick 30, that kind of gamble might be worth it. Safety is another position to watch closely. With current starters lacking long-term certainty, adding someone like Dylan Thieneman or Emmanuel McNeil Warren could be a game-changer. Both bring versatility, something that fits perfectly into Jeff Hafley's defensive scheme, where safeties are expected to do it all, cover deep, support the run, and adapt on the fly. And then there's the wild card factor. Offensive linemen like Blake Miller or Caden Proctor, defensive backs like Avon Terrell, or even a surprise skill player if someone slides. This draft is wide open at pick 30. The truth is, this draft will define the early identity of the John Eric Sullivan era. With 11 total picks and 7 inside the top 100, the Dolphins have a massive opportunity to reshape this roster. If they hit on even half of those selections, we could be looking at the foundation of a contender for years to come. But if they miss, the consequences could set the team back. The tension is real inside the building right now, and this is where things get even more intriguing for this Dolphins front office. Because when you look at everything we've discussed so far, there's a clear philosophical battle happening. Do you chase immediate needs, or do you trust your board and build something sustainable? And here's what I'm hearing. This front office is leaning heavily toward discipline over desperation. That means even with the hole left by Jaylen Waddle, Miami is not expected to panic draft a wide receiver early. Instead, the belief internally is that this draft class is deep enough at the position to find value in the second and third rounds. Remember, the Dolphins hold multiple picks between 75 and 94, and that range is loaded with receiver talent. This is exactly the kind of strategy John Eric Sullivan wants to implement: build depth, create competition, and avoid overpaying for one position early. But let me tell you something that might surprise you. There's a real scenario where Miami doesn't take a wide receiver at all in the first round. Yes, you heard that right. If the board falls a certain way, the Dolphins could walk away from picks 11 and 30 with a combination of offensive line, edge rusher, and safety. That would send a very clear message. This team is being rebuilt from the inside out. Stronger in the trenches, more versatile on defense, and trusting the coaching staff to develop playmakers later. And when you look at the names connected to pick 30 again, it reinforces that idea. Edge rushers like Akeem Metter or Zion Young bring upside and energy to a pass rush that desperately needs juice. Safeties like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren could step in immediately and stabilize the back end of the defense. These aren't flashy picks, but they're foundational. Now, let's talk about risk, because every draft decision comes with it. Taking an offensive lineman at 11 like Vega Iona might not excite everyone, but if he becomes a Pro Bowl guard within 3 years, as many scouts believe, suddenly that pick looks like a home run. On the flip side, passing on a wide receiver early and missing out on a future star can haunt this franchise if the later round options don't pan out. That's the gamble, and this is where Dolphins fans are divided more than ever. Some want immediate firepower to replace Waddle and keep the offense explosive. Others are ready to commit to a more balanced, physical identity that can compete deep into the playoffs. Because let's be honest, the ultimate goal isn't just making the postseason, it's finally getting back to the Super Bowl conversation. And the front office knows that. With 11 total draft picks and 7 inside the top 100, this is not just another draft, it's a turning point. Hit on 5 of these players, and you suddenly have a young, controllable core that can grow together for years. Miss on too many, and you're back to patching holes in free agency. So everything comes down to execution. The board, the patience, the decisions on draft night. This is where franchises are made or broken. And here's where the situation takes one more turn that not enough people are talking about. Because while everyone is focused on picks 11 and 30, the real strength of this Dolphins draft strategy might actually come after the first round. Those mid-round picks, that's where this front office believes the roster will truly be shaped. You're talking about 4 selections in that 75 to 94 range. That's not normal. That's premium flexibility. And internally, there's a strong belief that this is where Miami can attack positions like wide receiver without forcing it early. That's why the idea of passing on receivers in the first round becomes more realistic when you understand the full draft capital they're working with. And let me add something else that's been quietly building. There's growing confidence in the coaching staff's ability to develop talent rather than rely on instant stars. That changes everything. Because if you trust your system, if you trust your coaching, then you don't need to chase the flashy name at pick 11. You can take the lineman. You can take the edge rusher. You can take the safety who fits your scheme perfectly, and then find your playmakers later. But here's the part that might make you uneasy as a Dolphins fan. There's still a very real chance that Miami trades down. Yes, instead of picking at 11, they could slide back into the mid-teens, maybe even around 16 or 17, and pick up additional assets. And if that happens, suddenly players like Akeem Metter or Kendrick Fault come into play earlier than expected. That could solve the edge rusher problem in a completely different way. But trading down also means passing on elite tier talent. And that's where things get dangerous. Because if a top player is sitting there at 11, whether it's a dominant offensive lineman or a defensive